Not a lot.
Oh, we do. Okay. So I'm Nina Walden. I work for Chai Mitzvah. Audrey Lichter, who's next to me on the screen, is our executive director. Oh, there's one more person to let in. And down here we have Nitzan Bergman, Rabbi Nitzan Bergman, who is going to talk to you about one of our curricula. And Reb Deb Smith is going to do a little taste of another curricula of a Musar, and Audrey's going to talk to you about our standard topics. But before we do any of that, I'm going to talk to you about Chai Mitzvah in general. And this is a great opportunity. I don't know if you're here because you're thinking of starting a group, or because you'd like to join a group, or because you just want to get a taste of what it is. But you're going to be able to do all those things. You're going to find out exactly, some of you I know already know what Chai Mitzvah is about, but some of you might not, and get a taste of all the great conversations we have, and have a chance to ask any questions or make comments. And I think we're going to have a nice time. So I have one more person to let in. Okay, great. Fantastic. And I am going to share my screen, and I'm going to tell you a little bit in general. So, welcome. Chai Mitzvah consists of really 4 things. Learning, like we're going to do tonight. Social action, which can be anything from a small amount of volunteering to a larger commitment. Participating in some kind of ritual or deepening its meaning. And all of those things lead us to a sense of community. And we're going to see how that works tonight when we try it out. People love to connect through Chai Mitzvah. People say that because we have these great conversations, we get to share our thoughts and insights, that we tend to become closer. So there are 2 basic components. One is monthly group learning sessions using the beautifully illustrated curriculum that Chai Mitzvah provides. And we have different tracks that you're going to experience tonight. We have the standard curriculum. Well, we'll talk about what those topics are later. We have a Musar curriculum where we do a different midah each month. We have Aseret, the Big 10, which is based on the 10 Commandments.
We know about that. Okay.
It's good. And we have the WRJ curriculum. We have it for all different ages. So if you want to do it with your family, or if you have teens who might be interested, we do that as well. And as you see on this chart here, the standard topics we have for adults, teens, and families. The Musar and Aseret we have for both adults and teens. Business ethics are just for adults, and we have something for teens called Mixtape, which is based on expressing yourself through the arts, rap and music and art. So that's the first component of the Chai Mitzvah program. The second is opportunities for personal growth through what we call your Jewish bucket list. So you pick something that you'd like to learn, and there's some examples here. Participate in a weekly Parshat HaShavua discussion, read a book that's interesting, learn to chant Torah. You pick some kind of social action, as we said before. Some people have worked with people in assisted living, or they've provided food for kids, or they volunteered at a dental care clinic. There are lots of different things you can do. Commit to that for a year. And then you do something that increases your spirituality. It can be on any level. Wherever you come in, that's where you are. You might decide to light candles Friday night if you never did, or you might do something completely deeper, say the Shema at bedtime, count the Omer. There's all kinds of things you might want to do. And when you do these things, and when you participate with other people in a group, one of the people said to us, our group, which began as acquaintances, are now close friends, because the topics are so wonderful and the conversation questions sparked discussions that brought us close together. And that's a little bit of what we're going to do tonight. So before we get started, I'll just tell you that it's inexpensive, and we can talk more about exactly how you organize a group. You can do it through your synagogue, or you can do it like a friendship group, or nowadays we're doing a lot of virtual groups, which is easy to do. It's often lay-led, so any of you could be leaders. And we have some things to help you lead it, to make it easy for you. Supplemental materials, webinars, things that help. And then at the end, you celebrate your achievement. So let's get started tonight. Audrey's going to go first and do our first topic. And we hope that you'll all participate and enjoy and have a good time.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about what we call our standard curriculum. So again, these source books, there are either 9 or 12 of them, depending on which curriculum you choose. And they're designed so that there's a lot in them, and you probably wouldn't be able to cover all of them in one sitting. Usually we expect a Chai Mitzvah group to last a session to be about an hour or so. And so the conversations there's lots and lots of conversations in each book, many more than you might get to in the course of one evening or one afternoon or whenever you're doing the Chai Mitzvah group. So these are the sample curricula, and we're going to look at the standard one. So Nina, here we go. So this is source book number 4 on interpersonal relationships. And I just want to say, sorry I don't have the slide for you, but I want to tell you that here are the topics that we cover in the standard curriculum. We start out with adult rites of passage. We do tzedakah and philanthropy, the individual and community, interpersonal relationships, mindfulness and consciousness living, adding new insights into the Passover Seder, Israel and the Jewish spirit, gratitude, hakarat hatov, Judaism and the environment, leadership, death and loss, and the arc of the holidays. So each month or each session is a different source book. So we're looking at source book number 4, interpersonal relationships. And this source book covers lots of different topics, relationships between parents and children and parents, relationships among friends. And we're going to focus on, I need to make this bigger. Let's see. How do I make this bigger? Where is that screen that makes it bigger? Where's the thing? Because I can't read this. Do you? How do I make this bigger, Nina?
It's bigger on my screen.
It is. It's not very big on my screen. Nina, how do I enlarge this? There's usually that plus sign someplace. Okay. Leland, if it's bigger on your screen, would you like to read?
Sure.
This is a nice story to begin with. This is about friendship. Go ahead.
The text, I was sitting on a beach one summer day, watching 2 children, boy and a girl, playing in the sand. They were hard at work, building an elaborate sand castle by the water's edge, with gates and towers and moats and internal passages. Just when they had nearly finished their project, a big wave came along, knocked it down, reducing it to a heap of wet sand. I expected the children to burst into tears, devastated by what had happened to all their hard work. But they surprised me. Instead, they ran up the shore, away from the water, laughing and holding hands, and sat down to build another castle. I realized that they had taught me an important lesson. All the things in our lives, all the complicated structures we spend so much time and energy creating are built on sand. Only our relationships to other people endure. Sooner or later, the wave will come along and knock down what we have worked so hard to build up. When that happens, only the person who has somebody's hand to hold will be able to laugh.
That's beautiful.
Okay. So here's a story, Rabbi Kushner, from Rabbi Kushner. And Leland, would you mind reading the questions?
Not at all. What allowed the children in this story to laugh, though the waves to laugh through the waves that knock down their castle. To laugh through. Is Rabbi Kushner's expectation of tears the normal expectation, or would you have expected a different reaction from the children? What is or are the messages that you take away from this story? How has this message played out in your life?
Okay, so so would anyone like to address any of these questions? Does anything speak to you in particular? Feel free to chime in. Anyone have something to say, or does any of this resonate? I think now, especially as we are so hunkered down, and all the things that we think are so important, and all the things that we do with our lives and our work and all the things that we've built, and all the, now we're just home, and we're home with, ourselves, or home with our families. And to me, this really does resonate. It's really the people in our lives that become so important to us. Does anyone have any thoughts about this?
It's Roseanne. I love the resiliency of kids. And it's such a wonderful metaphor that it was never about what they were building. It was about being together, and whatever they were doing wasn't what was important. It was the digging their little hands together and being, just being. And particularly, it is just being and reaching out and connecting by Zoom or phone or whatever it is to the people that mean so much to us. And it all goes back to relationships.
Right. Right. I couldn't agree more. There's nothing more meaningful than what's happening now for us to drive that message home. So I just want to go back to the source book for a minute, if you wouldn't mind. Nina, could you put up? And I wanted just to show you a few more pages of this particular source book. So we just read that, and then in this source book, if we go to the next page, thank you, thank you. Could you make it a little bit larger for me? Yeah. Okay, so the source book goes on to bring in some biblical commandments, and then goes into rabbinic understandings of these commandments. And I always like to say that you can have a PhD in English literature and run a book group, or you could read a book and run a book group. And we have designed this so that even if you are not a scholar, even if you have not a large fund of Jewish knowledge, you can read this with the introduction and the commentaries and the questions, and you can have a very robust discussion. So this particular is going to talk about relationships to parents. What do we owe our parents? What does the Bible say about our relationship to our parents, and what's the rabbinic understanding? So, and we don't have time now to go through all this, but I wanted to give you a sense of how this can come alive in a conversation. So it starts with, what do children owe their parents? The biblical commandments that form the basis of the relationship between children and parents come from Exodus, and then it gives you the quotes from Exodus. And then it goes on to rabbinic understandings. So what does it mean to say that you should, each person, his mother and father, you are to hold in awe? What does it mean to be in awe? What's the difference between awe and honor? And it goes into a whole conversation from rabbinic understanding from the Gemara. And then it goes into honoring your father and mother. What does it mean to honor? And how do you honor? What does it mean to honor? And how do you honor? You make sure that there's no do you have to incur financial loss? And I think these are things that really speak to people who are in this situation. You have to make sure your parents are safe, and they're fed, but does it, nowhere does it say that you must love them. So it's a whole conversation. So we get into then later understandings, so some of the some of the other commentaries about why is honoring your parents in the first tablet. It is alike to honoring God. And then conversation. So each time there's a set of questions and text, there's always a robust conversation. So these conversations are, so it's read the biblical commandments under what children owe their parents. How would you differentiate between the honor and awe? Read the first two texts from Kiddushin under the heading Rabbinic Understandings. How did the rabbis of the Talmud define the distinction of honoring and having awe? Which of these commandments and understandings follow your understanding of to be in awe and to honor? Where do they differ? What can be challenging about the rabbi's understanding of a child's obligation to his or her parents? Read the Bava Metzia text from the Rabbinic Understanding sections. What are the rabbis asserting about the relationship between children and parents? Is the teaching in some way surprising to you? Does it align with your understanding of Judaism or in some way challenge your previous understandings? Read the quote under later understandings. Why do you think honoring your parents is considered tantamount to honoring God in Jewish tradition? Similarly, why is failing to honor your parents compared to heresy and renouncing God? So, of course, you can imagine in a group of, a number of people coming together, having this discussion and thinking about their own relationship to their parents. We always say Chai Mitzvah is more like a book group, less like a class. Sometimes Leland and Paula can attest to this in our class at the JCC. We can spend a long time on one of these questions and we don't have to get to everything. So I'm sort of out of time for my part, but I wanted to give you a taste of what the standard curriculum looks like and how it's structured with an introduction, text, and conversation. I think we're going to have time for questions afterwards, so we're just going to go through to the next curriculum.
Okay.
Reb Deb, right?
That would be me. And I'm pleased to talk to you about Musar and our Musar curriculum at Chai Mitzvah, which is a passion of my life. I am an avid student of Musar for the past 10 years. And Musar is a Jewish spiritual practice that teaches us how to live our lives in balance, how to live an ethical life, how to live in integrity with ourselves, with other people, and with God. And I've been a student of Musar, as I said, for 10 years. And it's my pleasure to share with you a little bit about our curriculum and one of the particular topics. The sample lesson that I've chosen to share with you is on the topic of spiritual friendship, or chevruta. And one of my first experiences in studying Musar was being paired with a chevruta partner, a study partner, in my very first class as part of the learning. And once the class was over, my partner and I decided to go forward and study together on our own. And it's now 8 years later, and we are still chevruta partners. She's lived in 2 different states since then, and I've lived in 2 different houses. And it has been my pleasure this past year to bring her into our virtual Chai Mitzvah Musar class, and now she's part of the students that study in our group in the virtual class. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about spiritual friendship as a sample of the curricula that we offer. The Hebrew word for friend is chaver or chavera, and the word chevruta, also, which comes from this word, is the term used for a relationship between study partners. And the relationship between study partners and having friends and having a study partner is very, very important in the Torah. It values this as a very high value to follow. And we can extend that relationship of a study partner and a chavruta to having a friend, having a companion who supports us, can challenge us, can be a comfort to us, can be there for us. And as part of our spiritual practice in Musar study, having a spiritual friendship, having a study partner is very, very important as part of our practice. It's actually a spiritual practice to have a friend. and to be accountable to someone other than ourselves, and to have someone support our spiritual journey, and to be able to do that for another person. The booklet that we've put up, the Spiritual Friendship Booklet, which is booklet number 4, explores a number of texts, each more interesting than the next. They are just very, very interesting to study and discuss. And these texts that we study come from Pirkei Avot, the teachings of our ancestors, the ethics of our fathers, call them what you will, and they build on each other. And this text that they center upon, the focal text, is Acquire for Yourself a Friend. This is a very unique lesson, Acquire for Yourself a Friend. And why is this a particularly unique lesson? Because we're paired with a study partner from the beginning of the lesson. The facilitator would assign us each a partner, or we would choose a partner or a triple if we don't have enough to go around. And we would be doing the lesson in concert with our study partner, studying the text, doing the exercises, and seeing how meaningful that can be to each other. We open with an exercise, which again is a very unique part of this particular lesson in the curriculum. Each person gets 3 index cards and is asked to fill in certain information on each card. So card number 1, what are 3 of the most important qualities that you would look for in a friend? Card number 2, what are 3 of the most important qualities you bring as a friend in your relationship with someone? And card number 3, to jot down 1 or 2 reasons that perhaps a friendship you had going for a while dissolved or ended. Then we take these cards and we're working with a study partner. We go in with our study cards with our study partner. It's a way to get to know another person in the group and make a friend, right? And you're making a spiritual friend by studying the answers, these questions, and the same answers, or maybe the criteria that you've chosen to be a friend or to choose a friend are very different one from another. After this sharing, which is a great warm-up exercise, we move on to the text. And text is one or a friend by eating together, drinking together, reading together, studying together, and revealing one's secrets and everyday secrets. This is a very, very challenging question. And in the group, does it mean something particular to you? And if you know our history as Jews, we wrestle with Torah, and we are always wrestling with Torah. And so how does that impact our study in the Musar lesson today? As the facilitator of the group, it's a question that I always try to hold back and wait and see what other people will jump in with. And if no one responds, I may get the ball rolling. So if you're facilitating a group, it's good to sort of hold back for a while and then maybe be the one to jump in and see what answers present themselves. And of course, each answer is valid because it's a personal answer that someone has chosen. For example, how do you understand Torah secrets? Maybe you've looked at a certain text like the 10 Commandments that says to honor your father and mother. And maybe you've wrestled with honoring versus loving. And does it mean that you have to love your parents if you're told to honor them? And what is the difference, and how do you struggle with that? How do you wrestle with the text? And what secrets might it reveal to you in terms of how do you live your life? How do you use core Torah values to live in relationship with the other people in your family, with other people in the world? And how do you live with those commandments, that one that I just brought up, for example, and live in integrity with God as you live that out in your life? This is a good question, what looked at, and there are usually under the conversation topic several questions to choose under each text. But this question, although you might say it's a highly personal question, it doesn't call for intimate disclosure because it could just call for a reflection that you have. And so it's a pretty safe opener to engage people in the discussion. Further on in our booklet, we go through a number of different texts. I think this lesson has 7 of them. We come to a section at the end called Practices, which is awesome. This is so wonderful that each of our curriculum booklets ends with a practices section and also links to additional information. For this lesson, I'd like to look at a particular practice that has a lot of valuable follow-up exercises to work off the text study that we've done. For example, practice number 1 encourages us to think about what we've learned from other people. So what does that mean? What have you seen modeled about friendship in your friends and in your family? And what might people learn from you as a role model for being a friend, being a good friend? You might encourage people to keep a journal. Maybe they'll jot some of these things down privately and maybe share those reflections that they have on being a good friend or having good friends with their study partner that they now have, because the opening exercise set that up, and comparing lessons learned on this with their study partner. As you can see from the bullet points under practices, there are a number of different practices that you can engage in and encourage your students in your group, or if you're in a group, to pick and do. So I hope you found this brief intro to the Chai Mitzvah Musar topic of Chevruta, spiritual friendship, a very good and meaningful way to begin to explore Musar and to explore some of its key midot, its personality traits together. And good luck. I hope people choose to follow through and study Musar with us. Thank you.
Okay, so the next topic is Aseret, the Big Ten, and Rabbi Nitzan Bergman is going to tell you a little bit about it and get a little chance to experience that.
Well, that one.
We're in the middle of it. Huh?
Hi guys, great to be with you. So the Big Ten deals with the 10 Commandments. It's actually a partnership between the organization I run called Project Aseret and Chai Mitzvah. And it's been a real joy to work with Audrey and Nina and everyone at Chai Mitzvah, because where I think we had a Project Aseret good content, Chai Mitzvah really offers a great framework for exploring any topic. So this topic in particular is about the 10 Commandments, and our goal is to create literacy in the 10 Commandments. Who knew? Right? Do you know the 10 Commandments off by heart?
Signed up for that one, so. Yeah. Are you interested
Right.
in any more of this? What do you think? No? No, 'cause
So
that's
do
we already involved in that one.
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments, so,
But there's more.
okay, fantastic. So
yeah,
good. You can
yeah.
let us know how you
Press
feel.
it.
We also
What do you think? We can switch it off?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now that I'm
so
not talking, so.
the 10 Commandments is a bit of an anomaly because their simplicity at the end of the day leaves one wondering what the profundity of them is. And it's only when you start to really go into them with a certain assumption, which at the introduction of the course we try to prove this, go through sources, that they really contain the core values of Judaism. Yeah, if anyone would stop you and say, hey, you seem to be an active Jewish person, what are the core values of Judaism? Well, you'd probably either have an answer or wouldn't. It's amazing how many answers there are out there and how many people, but if we would go back to Judaism and say, well, what does Judaism say its core values are? That's not such an easy thing to find. And we've identified the 10 Commandments as being the core values. And that takes a little bit of a step in terms of studying them, not only on the, what we call the Peshat, the literal meaning. So the booklet up here tonight is do not steal. Do not steal, we understand. Yeah, don't take other people's things. What more is there, right? That's the literal meaning. But we need to go deeper. The truth is that the literal meaning, you've got to go a lot deeper with even the literal meaning. What does it mean not to steal, and how far does that stretch? But what's unique about this course is that it gets to the yesod. Yesod is Hebrew for foundation, and we called it here the underlying principle. And this is an example of, and we do this with each diber, each of the 10 Commandments. Is there anyone that would like to read?
What do you want read?
The introduction.
At the top, okay. Underlying the diber?
Diber.
Diber. Steal is the God-given ability or right to possess. We are in possession of our bodies from the day we are born, and in possession of goodwill from the moment we can express it. We are able to acquire property from the time we can hold on to it, and we are able to create and own our creations from our first creative moment. The Rekanati writes that the right to freedom derives from the fact that humanity is made in the divine image, and as such is meant to freely exercise their will as does the Almighty. Do not steal teaches us to recognize the inherent dignity of all people and respect for the right to possess that it affords them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I hope you get a sense for where we're going with this. Do not steal. The introduction actually is very interesting because we kind of engage the topic with a conversation about the sense of personal violation in theft. Don't know if any of us over here have ever had anything stolen from us. Besides losing the actual property, there's a sense of personal violation, and that's really what we're trying to explore: is why should we personally feel violated? My phone was stolen. Why does it touch me so deeply? And the answer is because the fact that I can even possess, that I can own a phone, speaks to my divine image. Just like God can possess, he possesses the entire world, in fact, so too each individual has the right to possess. And once it comes into our possession, and no one has the right to take it. And when they do take it, besides taking our property, they are violating our dignity, because they're really denying it, right? If someone would respect me for who I am, a human being, and say, okay, you have the right to possess, they would not steal from me. So that's what we mean by a underlying principle. A core value is that do not steal. The core value is respecting people's rights, and specifically their right to possess, which goes beyond, I hope you can feel that, goes beyond the literal meaning, and can really make one's identity to think of, well, who am I and what do I stand for? Oh, as a Jew, very much I stand for that. Okay, let's explore just the first text over here, because it amazes me that this is in the Talmud. Anyone want to read it?
Sure. Yeah, I will. It's a little bit hard to read, though. Make it a little bigger.
I'll see if I can. There we go. Is that good?
Yes. Rabbi Yochanan said, anyone who steals from his friend, even a coin of the smallest value, it is as if he has taken away his life. Like it says, so are the ways of the thief. The soul of its owner he takes.
Right.
Source.
Yeah, I think just for tonight, we'll just read one source. And it amazes me that this idea is in the Talmud. This recognition that, you know, it's not about money. It's about the dignity. It's about the life. It's about his soul. In the Hebrew, it's notel nishmato. He takes his soul. It's a violation of the soul. Nina, can I ask you to drop down to the next page, please?
Okay.
At the top of the page, yeah. And very much in the same format as the other curricula, there's a conversation piece at the end. And, you know, my experience with this has just been amazing. This is where people express their own ideas, their own experiences, and really come to add so much to the conversation for everyone. So there are a lot of questions here. What I normally do as a facilitator is read them all and allow for people to address anyone that they want. I'm not going to do that now because we're a bit time limited, but I'm just going to drop to the fourth one because I think it's a nice one. It's a good question. It is this core value which tells us to respect people's bodily rights and personal space. After all, part of the curriculum above was discussing kidnapping as the epitome of stealing. Sexual abuse, in addition to physical pain, is so bad because it's a violation of human dignity. It reduces a person to a subhuman status. And indeed, it's stealing, right? It's stealing someone's dignity. What attitudes in society have precipitated the Me Too movement at this time? Are they aligned to what we're speaking about, or have they come from somewhere else? Any comments? Or I would add to the question, do you think it is interesting and useful to view sexual abuse as an expression of theft, as do not steal? Couching it in those terms, does it explain it for really what it is?
It might be considered, other than killing somebody, perhaps the ultimate theft. It steals their dignity, it steals their sense of self, it steals their sense of autonomy and power, and negates their whole sense of being.
Wow. Yeah. So, you know, that's it. That's important. Do you think do you think the Me Too movement brought that to the front?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the Me Too movement put this on a front burner, and without it, it would have just sort of crept along. But it was the right time and the right space and the right leadership, and enough sufficient people said it was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they were willing to speak up for those who were too vulnerable to speak for themselves.
Yeah. So, you know, what a great thing. Okay. So I think that's a taste, and that was the purpose of tonight. The only other thing I would say is at the end of each booklet, so there are 11 booklets. One as an introduction to the whole approach to the Ten Commandments, and then one on each commandment. At the bottom of the page, there's always an integration about, okay, what does this diber? Diber is, by the way, the Hebrew for the Ten Commandments. They're not really commandments. They are dibrot. They're something much more general. So it's only 2 Hebrew words you need to know for the whole course. But what does this diber mean to you as a core value? When can it be applied? What are the challenges you will face, and how can you overcome them? And then after that, Nina, if I can ask you just to go down one more to the next page.
We only have this many pages here.
Okay, so there's another page. There's another page, and also it deals with bringing it daily practices. How to, what can you do to put this, integrate this into your life a little, and also it relates back to the Chai Mitzvah learning and social action.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit. We've seen 3 different curricula, and we've talked a little bit about what it's like to have a Chai Mitzvah group. And this is a time where we love to answer any questions you might have, whether you're in a group, you want to join a group, you want to start a group. If anybody has any questions about it, I can kind of walk you through how you can go about doing any of those things. You can meet a group with your friends. You could join one of Chai Mitzvah's virtual groups as well. So either one of those options are open to you. And right now is a really good time to do that, because while there's usually a small fee to start a group, right now during the Omer, you can start, especially because of the way things are right now, we want to make it easy for everyone. You can start a virtual group or join a virtual group at no cost, and the materials can be downloaded from our website. And if you want to lead a group, we're here to help you if you think you need help. If you want to join a group, we can help you find a group, or you can join one of our virtual groups. We have one led by Reb Deb on Musar. You had a little taste of that. We have one led by Audrey on our standard topics. And we have one led by Nitzan on Aseret, the Big Ten. All of those meet monthly online. You could join one or all 3, whatever you want to do. Are there any questions?
It's Rosanna. I did have a question. If I'm in a WRJ sisterhood,
Yes.
and I wanted to know if we started a virtual group, you said because it's a special time, there's no fee to download the curriculum, like the Musar curriculum, and start that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have digital, we have PDFs online, and they're great because if you use them on your tablet, when you get to our supplemental materials, you just click and that will come for you. So it's nice. It's a nice way to do the materials. And yes, that's right. You can go to our website and order them and download them, and they're at no cost right now.
Okay. And essentially, if you have some amount of Jewish education, it shouldn't be too hard to lead a group.
Absolutely. You're exploring it, and you're exploring it with your friends or whoever's in your group. There's no right or wrong answers. If you want to know more about something, you can always learn more. If you want to just discuss how you feel about the questions, you can just see where that leads you. It's really for your own exploration, and there's a lot of really good material in there. You don't need a super education to lead it.
If I may also just say, Roseanne, we have for Atzeret, for the 10 Commandments, and for the Musar, we're developing webinars that will help you, guide you in conversation. So Nitzan put together 10-minute sessions for each diber to kind of bring the core teachings of each one. And I think Reb Deb has 2 of them up, but soon going to have many more up. So, that can help as well.
Do you recommend just doing this once a month?
Yeah. We have some old
Do I
webinars up
recommend-
as well that cover the materials.
So the question is, do we recommend doing it once a month? It's really up to you when we design. So Chai Mitzvah is a not-for-profit organization. We are a 501c3, and our mission is one of Jewish engagement. That is our sole mission, and that's what we do. We've had over 7,000 people that have become a Chai Mitzvah since 2009, since we've been in doing this work. And so our original plan was for these to be once a month, because we wanted people to have time to do their bucket list. So we wanted people, in addition to the coming together to form these groups, we wanted people to have time to explore their personal desires for learning, spiritual growth, and social action. So we felt that we needed to give people time. So it was a once a month thing. Nina, if I'm correct at this point, it's a little more flexible, depending because of the way things.
Okay.
I have two questions, if you don't mind. I'm also WRJ, and the virtual is interesting, obviously, because of the time that we're in, but also because of my timetable to add something else to get in physical space, even when we're done with physical distancing, would be difficult. But if I could virtually add it, it would actually be possible. So, so my two questions are, first of all, in one of the classes that are online, like Smith or any of the other two, is that a specific set time already and we would come in the middle of a class, or is that starting another one? And then my second question is, for, you said like to download the free, you download it for now. So obviously that would start at the beginning, but do they get to download their materials? I mean, is it just the person who starts the group? If I were to start it instead of a join a group, would it be my materials and I share it, or does each person have to do a download?
Nina, could you share, would it be possible to share the website so people can see how to do that?
Sure, I think I can do that. And while I'm getting the website up, the answer is everybody can download materials. Each person can download the materials and have them on their tablet. And at this time, there's no cost for anybody to download them. I'm going to share my screen and show you our website, so you can see how that works.
That's really very kind and generous.
Thanks. There. So can you see our website now?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So let's see. So what you would do is you would go to registration and ordering materials, and then you'd have an opportunity to register. Since I've already registered, I'll just click here to show you what you find. Then you find all of the different source books. So we have Aseret, we have Musar, we have standard topics, we have business ethics, we have family education also, and teens, and then we have a few guides that we also give away. So you would just pick what you want and just order it. And until May 28th, there's no charge. And then you would download it and it would show up on your computer or your tablet, and then you have it for yourself.
Nina, while we're on this page, if you would just scroll down one, I just want to just let you know one other thing that we offer. And our board chair and president, Scott Shea, wrote a book called In Good Faith. And we are offering this book, which is a really amazing book about monotheism. We are offering this book at no charge, so you can order it from our website and we'll send it to you. So just a little aside, and it has discussion guides with it as well. So if you're interested in ordering an In Good Faith discussion guide to also do a book, everyone in the group can get a book and you can get the discussion guides as well.
That's right.
Okay.
Is there
Sorry.
something else you wanted me to show on the website besides how to order?
Yes. So, so if you go back to the registration page for a minute, the get started. So if you see that, if you're, could you push that for a minute? So you see that if you want to start a group, you have to go to group registration, and then you register your group with us. There's no charge, but you register your group. And if you're a participant, every participant in the group, we ask you to register as a participant. And we don't do anything with this information. We never sell lists or anything like that. The only reason we ask for participant registration is, one, we do have monthly newsletters that have supplemental material and talk about other groups around the country, because we have about 1,000 people a year that do Chai Mitzvah, and we like to highlight different people, different groups. And also, for our funding, we need to have metrics. So we need to be able to tell our funders, okay, we are impacting, we have 1,000 people this year. And so it just helps us with our fundraising and how we can offer all this to you and be true to our mission of Jewish engagement. So, so this is the registration page. That's where and then if you go to where it says webinars, that actually is going to say events soon. And that shows you where our, well, actually right now it says where our live webinars are, but it's also on the page, right? If you want to do the Atzeret or the 10 Commandments, if you want to do the 10 Commandments or the Musar and join our webinar, because that was a question that was asked, you can get it, you see the dates, but you can also get it from the curriculum page, right? Where our live webinars are.
Our live webinars, yes, that's right. No, not our live webinars. Those are recorded webinars on that page. These show what's coming up. This is where we are right now. And you can see that there are different virtual groups meeting. I think Lori asked about if there's an ongoing Musar class or if she would start her own. There is an ongoing one that Reb Deb teaches, and you can also start your own. You can do either of those things right now.
And you can join. It's okay to join in the middle.
Absolutely.
You don't have to worry about that. And our standard one, we just started. We just did one. So, and those are meeting monthly. So the next one is in May. Those will be meeting monthly.
Right. You can see the dates of them right here. The May 4th is the standard topics that Audrey is teaching. Nisan will be teaching May 12th. And Reb Deb will be teaching May 14th, each of these different curricula. We also have some special things going on. We have something for Shavuot. We have a Tikkun Leil Shavuot, which is going to be very interesting. It'll combine both some celebration and some study. And if you check on this page, you can see things that are going on that you can join anytime, like the one that we are in tonight. So the answer is, if you want to start a virtual class, all you do is register as a group leader, and you will get everything you need in order to help recruit people, like some things you can put on your Facebook page or send out to friends, so you don't have to think it through, you have to reinvent the wheel. And then everybody registers and downloads their material. Are there any other questions?
Nina, the Musar has a class running this coming Monday. It will be May 4th, if anyone wants to try that, and be a guest in that class and see if you like it and want to continue to come. That starts at 7:30 on May 4th.
Oh, thank you. I didn't get that right. You're right. That is Audrey who's May 4th, you who's May 4th. I'm sorry.
This is Scott Skillman. I have a quick question about community building activities. I'm very impressed with your lesson plans and all the materials, but I'm curious to know how the experience has been for those groups that have been holding the meetings. What kind of community growth are they experiencing? Are they has it been used to reach out and bring former members back into the fold or new members? Just that kind of question.
Audrey, that seems like when you would answer.
So that's a great question. And that's, I think, what differentiates Chai Mitzvah from a lot of Jewish learning programs. You know, we don't consider ourselves a Jewish literacy program. We consider ourselves a Jewish engagement program. Our mission is that people do Chai Mitzvah, and at the end of the experience, they're more connected to their community and to each other. So we can give you lots of examples. There is a congregation right now in Dallas, Texas, that is a huge Reform congregation. They are doing 50 Chai Mitzvah groups in their congregation, small groups. And then they're going to do some mega work, like maybe sermons or other things that they're going to add on, because everybody's going to be studying the same topic. I think they're doing the Atzeret. We had a fairly large conservative congregation that did Chai Mitzvah for the women of the congregation. And the assistant rabbi ran 4 Chai Mitzvah groups. She had 100 women over 2 or 3 years do the program. And these were all women 40 years and up. And they all had one foot out the door. They were people that kids had gone through the religious school, and they no longer use the religious school. They never, they were wondering, why are they paying a couple of $1,000s a year dues? And this transformed the congregation, because these people became much more connected. Not only did they connect to each other, but they also connected to the congregation. So they became an adult bar bat mitzvah. They went to services more often. All the things that people did in their, we wanted them to look into their congregation to find things to fulfill their learning, their social action, and their ritual work. So we are very, it's trickier now that people are homebound, but actually Nina just put a beautiful booklet together for teens of ways in which you could do social action being in lockdown.
Right.
And there's some of that could be used for adults as well. So you could find that resource on our website as well.
Yes.
But we take that very seriously. I always say, a successful Chai Mitzvah's experience is a more engaged Bethel member, a more engaged congregant, a more engaged person that knows about their community and what their communities offer and what kinds of needs are in their communities. And that's really our mission.
Audrey, I have a question.
Yes.
Both the ongoing groups and then the self-forming groups, what's the average size, average age, geographic distribution, and what sort of, from your benchmarks, what are the characteristics that have made some groups more successful than others, and also the difference between face-to-face and virtual?
That's a great question. So I'll answer it, and Nina can answer it as well. So first of all, I think we've learned over the years is that the cohort group really does matter. And in the beginning of Chai Mitzvah, we had many models that were not successful. So we learned that the group, who the group is really important. So many groups are friendship groups, affinity groups. We had groups, for example, the Lion of Judah Women Philanthropists. They were all Lion of Judah Women Philanthropists. They didn't know each other, but they were all Lion of Judah Women Philanthropists through the Federation. So they formed a group. We had a group of artists once that came together. They were different kinds of artists, but they were all artists. We've had people in congregations that can form a group because they're all members of a particular congregation. So the group does matter, and virtually we have found, and we've been told that although in groups that meet outside of the, when we used to meet when we used to meet face to face, we like to see a group between, let's say, 8 and 12 people, 12 being the max kind of. We've found that virtual groups, like a group this size, is almost too big. So you're looking for more like 6 or 7 people in a group is a better size for a virtual, because you want everybody to talk. We really don't see this as a class. We see this as you all know about book groups. It's like more like a book group. the kind of conversation that we want. Nina, do you have anything to add to what I said there?
I would just add that I run a virtual group right now, a friendship group, and I think we have 7 people, and it's a wonderful number. So I would agree with what Audrey said, and that it is flexible. Also, not everybody always shows up every time. If you have 10 people, you might get 8 consistently. Other than that, I think, is there anything else I can add to that? I don't think so.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
And now it's so wonderful because you can really engage people all over the country, which is really something that's fantastic. I mean, I don't know how many of you did Seders, virtual Seders with family, and, people came from all over the country that were together. So there's some benefits of this lockdown period for this program. We've had, since we put up the free digital materials, we've had over 10 groups that have formed, and lots of people that have downloaded the materials, and we're hoping that they're forming groups. So I think it's a great time to do this.
And it's a great format because if you are losing touch with someone, I mean, I have friends in different parts of the country. We're in different time zones. We tend to start to drift apart. But if you decide to join a Chai Mitzvah group together virtually, you'll know that at least once a month or every 2 weeks, if you decide to meet that way, you're actually going to be able to talk to this person about important things, and you might find that you're getting closer again. It's a nice way to reconnect with people that you might have drifted apart from because of location.
We also, so we usually say you should leave an hour for the discussion of the source books and a half an hour for the discussion of the bucket list. So, you can then spend some time talking about, I'm reading this, or I'm trying to light candles again on Friday nights, or I'm studying to, read Haftorah or something, and you can share those things too together. So we the groups like to support each other in their personal journeys as well.
That's right. Any other questions or comments?
I am curious what the male to female ratio is in your groups.
A good question. I think we tend to have more female people. We have a lot of WRJ groups, but we have I think our business ethics groups tend to be a little more male oriented. There's certainly groups of couples. It depends. It depends, I think, on who your friends are and what you want to do. I mean, I don't think there's any reason it would be one more than the other, but we do tend to have a lot of women.
We work across the denominations. We have lots of renewal and reform, conservative, and we have some modern Orthodox groups. We are completely non-denominational, and we work, as Nina says, we have about 500 teens that are in our program, and adults all the way up. We work in a lot of independent living facilities. So we have people that are 100 doing our program, still learning, still growing. It's really very gratifying. So we're really try to span the spectrum of the Jewish community.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
We're just about here.
Yeah.
So Nina and I were always available, right?
24/7.
So yeah, we're, just email us at nina@chaimitzvah.org or audrey@chaimitzvah.org. You can go to our website. Our website is, I think there's lots on our website for you to look at curriculum samples and learn more about us. And we'd be so happy to have you come join us or answer any other questions that come up for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for joining us tonight. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.